All right, my friends, I don't know what I'm doing this morning. I'm getting ready to teach. Friends, Eric Andres, YourGuitarSage here. I'm just an absolute mess this morning. It's all right though. My brain is totally engaged on this subject that we were talking about yesterday, and I'm literally not in this playing realm whatsoever. I am literally just like was thinking about all of this last night, what it is that we're talking about in the music theory, and did I teach this stuff right yesterday? Did I, like, literally all these questions going through my head, because this subject here, I kind of went out on a limb and I said, you have to know 80%, or I should say that 80% of your knowledge, your musical knowledge, has to do with your ear. And it was haunting me last night. I literally couldn't sleep for like hours. I'm like, did I teach this right? Is this right? Overanalyzing. But really when it came down to it, it always came up. Every single thing that I taught yesterday and everything that I'm going to be teaching today, I reanalyzed it and made sure that what I was saying was correct, because I get these notions. This is what kind of makes me a little bit of a weird guitar player, because sometimes I bring in all these other analogies and what have you. But nonetheless, I literally stayed up last night I went to bed early, and like 4 or 5 hours of poring over this stuff in my head, and comes out to be true, absolutely 100% true, and I've analyzed it over and over again. So, friends, what I'm going on and on about here is this. Essentially, if you don't know a smattering of music theory, what I mean by this is the basics of music theory, like I teach in my free course, and I teach them all my other courses as well. If you don't know that music theory, you could try to play by ear all day long, but it's really not going to help you as much as knowing the music theory. So what I'm saying is this. What one person thinks is training your ear, really 80% of that has to do with your musical knowledge, not having to do with your ear whatsoever. It's how you interpret what is coming into your ear. Said another way, as I've mentioned in this PDF that you can find. By the way, folks that are joining us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, this PDF that I'm talking about right now that I'm going to be showing you is in the description of the video. So not for Instagram folks, but YouTube and Facebook. So click on that link, download it, because there's a lot of information in here that's absolutely going to give you that foundation so that you can understand how to play by ear, okay? So in this PDF, I talk about it in the beginning, is that if you are a master navigator, maybe a captain of a ship or a pilot, you have tools that you use to be this master navigator. And if someone took those tools from you, you would be useless. Now, I know we have a lot of vets watching today, and in the military, you're trained to know where you are at that moment and where you need to go and what have you, by the use of maps and many, many other tools, radar and that sort of thing. Take those tools away, you could be the best navigator in the world. If you don't have your tools, you're not going to be able to do the job. Just like a great carpenter, you could be the greatest carpenter in the world. If you forget your saw and your hammer that day, well, then you're going to have to saw with your hand and have to hammer nails with your hand. It's not to say you can't do it, but it's really going to be a painful process and probably not nearly as productive as if you had brought your tools along, okay? So even the best of navigators, even if they're navigating by the stars, okay, they're using something, they're using the tools. So blot those stars out for a few nights on the sea with clouds. And even that master navigator who is measuring things by the stars is going to have a problem, okay? So I use this analogy. Some people say, Eric, why do you go off on all these analogies? Well, because I know you agree with what I'm saying there, okay, that you have to have those tools. The Bermuda Triangle is filled with amazing pilots and amazing captains, folks that knew their stuff inside and out, but something went wrong there, right? A lot of times people say the navigational, that the tools, that the radar, that the compass and stuff like that, all that stuff started going wacky in this little area big area of the Atlantic Ocean. I've been there many times. Many folks have been through the Bermuda Triangle and never had a problem, but it has a reputation for being a lot of lost ships and a lot of lost airplanes, and because these losses happened because the tools that those navigators were using were not available. Things went wacky. Okay, so that is literally a testimony to what I'm talking about right here. So if that is true, understand this. Any song that we're listening to is literally telling us the key. It's telling us the notes that are being played, the strumming rhythm. It's telling us the chords that are being played, the tempo, a myriad of pieces of information coming through those speakers. But if we can't interpret them, they might as well not be there whatsoever, right? So here's the deal. So what we need to do is we need to be able to read the signs, okay? We need to be able to read the information that's always been coming through to us. And if we understand how to decipher that information, right? It's like having a decoder ring. If we have a decoder ring or if we have something to decode something, then now we can read those maps, okay? So we have a map. I mentioned yesterday we have a map. We're in New York City. If we don't know how to read a map, or if we don't know where we are at on that map, and we don't have resources like asking other people, those sorts of things, those are all tools, then we will be lost, okay? So what I am claiming here is that a minimum of 80% of playing by ear has nothing to do with the ear. It has to do with your knowledge of music. And the knowledge that you need to have is called music theory. And it's literally so easy. I'll say it like I said it yesterday. If a guy like me, who it takes 5 times to take an algebra class to pass it in college, if I can do it, you can do it. I promise you. If you can count to 7, you understand music theory, or you can understand music theory. So those are the types of things we're going to be talking about today. Really quickly, this PDF, you should have downloaded it by now. Otherwise, I'm going to go over it with you really quickly. There's 3 links in here for you. Today, friends, is the last day of our massive sale. 60% off the Unstoppable Guitar System. We talk about it all the time. Sell this thing for $400 all day long. The 365 guitar plan we sell for $80 all day long. Okay, you buy UGS, we will throw 365 in there for you. Okay, just throw that $80 product in there. It's normally a $400 product. But guess what? Today is the last day of the sale. 60% off this enchilada is literally $159 today. If you want to take advantage of that, you'll click this link right here. Otherwise, if you just love free stuff, click right here. You will have a lot of amazing videos of lots of the stuff that I'm talking about today inside the program. But if you're beyond that, if you want to get beyond that, if you know you want a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System, you'll want to click here and get on that dealio. If you're a veteran, we've got something amazing for you. So click on that as well. Literally, you'll get the whole enchilada for free. I've been answering hundreds and hundreds of emails from beautiful messages from vets that already got in the program. Please leave those comments inside of the chat too, because I've had a few people that say they were skeptical because it took a few days. Well, we had like 1,000 people we had to get into the system, so it takes a bit, right? I do sleep like you, and I eat and have a family and stuff, so I have to work outside of what I'm doing here. So it takes some time. So, but for those of you that are skeptical, just read the comments on the screen. There'll be many vets that will vouch for this, the trueness of this, okay? So you got those 3 bits there. YourGuitarSage, you know what that is. That's just my website. Go over this. Read over this on your own. Essentially, it is what I just talked about, that we really have to know how to read a map for a map to be valuable to us, okay? We need to know basic diatonic harmony. Essentially, we need to know the major scale. Okay, whole step, half step, whole, half. Some of this is going to be over your head because you hadn't learned it yet. Everybody has to learn it, okay? So it's okay if you don't know it. Don't be freaking out right now. Just read this document, take the free course, jump into the Unstoppable Guitar System, and you're going to be set up. It's step by step. You can't mess up. The only way you mess up is if you quit, okay? So we talk about playing by ear here, and there's some things that we need to know. You'll read all this on your own, and then the last thing I want you to look at is this right here. We're going to refer back to this at some point today as well. Okay, so mainly what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting questions today, because I really deep dove on this yesterday, and I want to make sure to get all your questions and what have you today. So there's 3 things that we said just off the top of my head are things that will identify the tonal center of a song. Remember, the tonal center of a song, if you will, is here you are on the map. It's that big red arrow that says here's where you are. Now, anybody who's read a map knows you could be the best map reader in the world. Okay? You could have dedicated your life to reading maps. But if you don't know where you're at on that map, you might as well not know how to read maps, because in order to know where you're going, you first have to know where you're at, right? You can't go someplace. You can't get on the right road to go someplace if you don't know where you are, okay? So very important. That's what I refer to as the tonal center. If we know what the tonal center of a song is, the tonal center is the one note, the one chord that all the other notes revolve around. And if we understand what that note is, then it will tell us what the other notes most likely are. It will tell us most likely what the other chords are. It will even tell us by statistics, it will tell us what the frequency of chords are, how they will appear, and in what order. Now that takes a little bit of time learning that, but nonetheless, that information is there by just finding out what the tonal center is. So the number one thing that one has to do if they want to be able to play by ears, they need to find out what the tonal center of a song is. So I talked about this yesterday, that oftentimes it's the first or the last note or chord of a song. Okay, so for instance, just now I was playing this, The Thrill Is Gone, right, by B.B. King. So it starts off on this A minor right here. Okay, so literally, if we've never heard that song before, or whether we've heard it a million times, we're getting the same amount of information all the time. But how we decipher that information, if we have the skill set to decipher that information, is going to determine how good our ears are. Because we're all hearing the same stuff, okay? This whole notion of that you're pitch deaf or tone deaf, that's complete nonsense, because listen to me, all noise, every single thing that you're hearing right now, my voice, the guitar, everything, it's all made up of pitches, also known as tone or tones, okay? So one cannot both hear and be tone deaf at the same time, okay? You would have to break some physics laws. Now, if someone disagrees with me there, then you're really going to have to pull out some physics, and you're going to have to disprove me here, because I've got a video on YouTube and I have people that will argue with me all the time on it. Not all the time. It's every now and then there's somebody on there that says, yes, you can hear and be pitch deaf, be tone deaf at the same time. From my understanding of physics, that everything, let's break it down for a moment here. When something vibrates, it vibrates the air and it hits your ear, okay? That vibration is happening at a frequency or at a rate. Okay, it's either doing this, or it's doing this, or it's doing this, okay? We have high notes, we have low notes. And depending on the highness of it is how fast it's vibrating. So automatically, if we can hear a low note or a high note, we're hearing pitch. Or again, if we hear anything, we're hearing pitch, okay? So you cannot be tone deaf. So with that being said, people think they're tone deaf because they're either singing off key, they don't have control of their voice. That's really what it amounts to. Oddly enough, the more you practice your voice, the more you will get control of it, which means all of a sudden your tone deafness will go away. So it's a term that people throw around a lot. It's fairly destructive because people all of a sudden think they may be tone deaf. There is no such thing, okay? Until someone can prove it otherwise, I have never believed in that notion, just from a common sense level. Okay, so with all that being said, you're not tone deaf, and you're hearing all the same information that anybody else is. Okay, sans unless you have like an actual hearing disorder, like where you cannot hear. Okay, there you go. So you're hearing stuff. If you're hearing anything, you're getting the same information. But how you decipher that, what that information means to you is truly going to determine whether you're going to be able to play by ear or not. Okay, so the tonal center is number one. Tonal center tells us what it is that we should be expecting in the song. So in this case here, it starts off on an A minor, which I said, if you listen to the first chord and the last chord of a song many times, many, circle, underline, italicize, asterisk, all that stuff, circle it, because you're going to say, but Eric, this one starts on a C and the song's actually in the key of G. I know. Remember when I said many? That means not all the time, but many times. Most of the time it does. So we take a song like this. It starts off in the key of, with the A minor chord, and it happens to be in the key of A minor. And at the end, as any good song does, it ends on the tonic. So it says like, hey everybody, good night, we're done. And so oftentimes you can take the first chord, the last chord, and measure those and say, okay, well this sounds like an A minor. Now that part you're going to have to use your ear. You're going to go, and then you're going to have to find that note on the guitar, as I talk about in my courses, right? In the free course, everything else. So check those out. Now, once we know the tonal center, we know the melody, or we know the notes and the chords that should appear. I go over all of that stuff in the PDF with you. We won't go over all that stuff again today just because we did it yesterday. And for those that were here, I don't want to waste their time. So I'll take the questions here in just a moment. We also mentioned the melody and the chord progression will also tell you. There are hints as to what the tonal center we're in. Remember I said that we are detectives or scientists. And a good scientist or a good detective is not going to jump on a hunch. Now they may keep that hunch in their head, hey, I think this is what happened here. But a good scientist or a good detective, in fact, the better they are, the more that they will accept all these questions, okay? Just like me, I'm saying if you can prove to me that you can hear and be tone deaf at the same time, I'm open and I will change my mind. I like the truth. And I'm going to mainly be truthful with myself so I can be truthful to others. So it's important for us to keep an open mind and not get so dadgone set on whatever it is that we think. That's a very foolish thing to do. So with that being said, we've got to be open, and as a detective or as a scientist, we are listening, or as a musician in this case, we're listening. And we're taking the clues and we're saying, well, this looks like maybe the key of A minor. This looks like the key of A minor. This looks like the key of, something else. So maybe it's not the key of A minor. Yesterday we went over an example, and one of my students, Brian, said, Eric, but why can't it be in this key? And it was a totally valid question, totally intelligent question. In fact, so intelligent that when he said it, I had to go through the whole routine and go through my checks and balances to determine whether I was teaching it wrong, incorrectly, and that I might have been going on a hunch. With that being said, all the notes that are in Amazing Grace worked out, in this case, to be in the key of D. But the same notes that I named out were also in the key of A. Okay, I think we had 5 out of 7 notes. And that can happen to where you have notes that are the same in each key. For instance, the key of C major is C, D, E, F, G, A, B. All the letters of the alphabet, no sharps or flats. If we played the key of G, we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay, so if we take both of those keys and we lay them on top of each other, all the notes are the same, except in the key of G, the F is sharped, and in the key of C, the F is natural. Why does that matter, Eric? Well, that matters a lot because that one little note is just like your fingerprint. You look at your fingerprint and you take your thumb and you look at somebody else's thumb, you might look at it and go, what's the same? It's a little swirly thing and there's little ridges and it goes right in the center and then there's the center thing and then yada, 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 yada. It's all the same. But your iPhone doesn't think so. When you put your finger on there, it knows the difference between your thumb and somebody else's thumb because there are little minute details, like in music, one note, that makes all the difference in the world. So that one note makes all the difference, whether it's in the key of C or the key of G. And in music, we have that. We've got keys that are similar. We just do. So yesterday, Brian said, well, couldn't it be in the key of A? And I said, Let's go down that road. Thank you for challenging me. And we went and found all the notes. All the notes fit in the key of A and fit in the key of D. But what happened is that there's an assumed key. What I mean by this is if I play a song, and like just now, and we can identify the one, also known as the tonic or the tonal center or the key. Holy mackerel, I just spit. I'm excited. If we can hear that tonal center and you or any listener says, yeah, that resolves. Like just now when we resolved this, where we're listening to this, right? Now, the feeling that you're feeling because of the music just now, possibly many different feelings, but nonetheless, the feeling that you felt just now at the end was, okay, that's the end of the song. We just resolved it. Like a good ending of a movie or a good ending of a speech or something, to where you clap and you know it's done and whoever's coming up next is coming up next. It's called a cadence. It's called a resolution. So your ear recognizes this naturally. Congratulations. That means you're on your way to being a supersonic amazing musician. It's true. You have all the tools you need. But even though we know that that's the tonal center, okay, if we can identify the tonal center, in this case here it's an A, then we know some other things about it. So there's many levels of this. Your ear will say that's the tonal center. I don't know what that means, but I can hear where Eric's saying where that's a rest, where it could hang on that chord for a long time, or end. The song could end on that chord and be totally happy. But we may not know what the name of the note is, and that's where all this stuff comes in handy, okay? So the melody, the chord progressions will also tell you what key you're in, okay? So just like yesterday, and Brian said, what about all those notes? Well, even though all those notes matched up in two different keys, there was this assumed tonal center where you could feel that if I ended it on an A, or an A note, or an A major chord, it didn't sound very good. It sounded like it was like I needed to go back to the D. That is what we call the tonal center, or the one, the resolution, the key. And so when I play the D, it sounded a lot better because it resolved. So that's another clue. It's just like what sounds good, okay? And this is where a lot of musicians learn to play guitar and they feel like they don't know any music theory. They say, I don't know any music theory, I'm all self-taught. Number one, you're not really self-taught, because if you've played any lick by anybody else, you're learning all the stuff that they learned from their teachers and their guitar players before them. I know this because I'm self-taught, but I've also taken lessons. But really, anybody who says they're self-taught and they don't know music theory, they really know music theory and they really aren't self-taught. Sorry to offend, but I am myself am self-taught, but I'm not. Okay, because you're learning stuff through other people. If you really want to be self-taught, then go grab a guitar when you're an infant and you've never heard music whatsoever. Go to an island and play guitar, okay, without hearing any outside influences. Then you can truly say that you are self-taught and that you don't know any music theory. But even then, knowing some music theory, you're going to know some shapes that probably are going to start appearing to you that you go, well, that sounds better than this, because there are certain physics in regards to music that allow certain notes to sound better with each other, just from a real natural standpoint. You could grow up on that desert island and know that this sound right here is not as nice sounding as, say, this sound. That sounds very dissonant, right? So we don't have to be a rocket scientist or have a PhD in music to hear that that doesn't sound right. So a lot of this stuff you're going to be hearing inherently, naturally, organically. But if we can attach some of these labels to them, right? But Eric, I don't like labels. You need labels here, okay? You need them. 80% of that is going to have to do with your ability to label things, and then what do those labels mean to the context of the song. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's get straight into some questions here, because I've done enough talking here, and I want to make sure that I'm getting my point across to you. There's no need in me going on and on if I'm not getting the point across. Okay. Today I'm going to start off on Facebook, and then I'm going to head over to YouTube. Really quickly, if you haven't already, please share this video. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the places in which you can share it, please do that. Sharing is caring, and it would just be a nice thing to do. Okay, let other folks know. Also, this is the last day of the Veterans Sale. If you want to know more about that, then hit the link that's at the top of the PDF. Friends, it's 60% off today, okay? That is massive. So instead of $400, it's $159, okay? And you can see the offer there inside of the description of the video on Facebook, at least, I think on YouTube as well. Okay, so let's get to some questions here on Facebook. Please leave a question mark afterwards because I'm zinging through these since we have so many comments anymore. It's really important, you know. Really important that you put a question mark so I can see it very quickly. Okay, thank you. And I know you guys have some questions on this. Don't leave this stuff on the table, my friends. This might be, with the exception of some of the psychology that I talk about in understanding that, you know, everybody has to start at step one, everybody has to practice, no one gets a free ride, all those things. Those are very important bits because if you're stuck in myths in your head and folklore, then you're not going to even get to this lesson. But with the exception of the psychology, this might be one of the most important, it's definitely one of the most important, possibly the most important lesson is understanding a little bit of music theory and how that applies to your ear, because literally you can do anything, you know. Okay. Willow. Oh, that's right. I saw you in there, Willow. Congratulations. Willow just joined the Unstoppable Guitar System. And give a shout out, friends. If you're in the Unstoppable Guitar System already, there's folks that are like, I don't know about this guy. He seems like a whatever. Then let them know so that they realize that I'm not a whatever, that I'm just a guy who really wants to help you play guitar. I've always loved playing guitar and I've loved helping folks, so that's kind of my thing. All right, where's the coffee? It's in my tummy, Larry. I had my CBD coffee this morning. They sell the CBD coffee here in Franklin, Tennessee, this little place that I go to all the time, and it's so yummy. Okay, once you find the main chord, this is Steve on Facebook. Steve Long is saying, once you find the main chord or note, is there a group of chords that usually go together? Yeah, let's talk about this. So this is going to be right here in the PDF, okay? So check this out. So just now, let me show you how to read this too. In the key of A, the one chord or the tonic is an A. Now watch this. This magically works every single time. In the key of B, the one is a B. In the key of C, the one is a C. Key of D, it's a D. Key of E, it's an E. Key of F, it's an F. Key of G, it's a G. It's not magic, it just works out that way. The 1 is the tonal center. So if you say, I am in the key of C, then the C is always the 1. Okay, followed by these chords. Okay, now these are ones that naturally appear because of the major scale. You don't have to understand all that, and you won't understand that until you break this apart like I do inside my programs, understanding how the major scale works, okay? But nonetheless, if you have the notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right here. And if the chords would be C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. The green chords are major, the red chords are minor, and this purple chord here is diminished. That's what that little circle means, okay? You don't have to know what all that means, but you know major and minor chords probably. So literally, if we know that the tonal center is a C, now this is a great question. Let's talk about it. If you find out what the tonal center is, I'm claiming that you have all this knowledge that you didn't have before, but if you didn't have that tonal center, then, well, you need the tonal center first, right? So that's your ear. You got to find that. That's the 20%. But then the 80% is, well, what does that tonal center mean to me? So if you don't know that in the key of C, the notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, which you don't memorize. You don't have to memorize this, okay? And listen to me. Any of this stuff that seems over your head, it's because you don't have a piece to the puzzle that I give to you for free in that free program. That is the only thing. Don't bail out and try to think that it's some sort of craziness that you weren't born with or something like that. It's poppycock. It's just a piece of information, small piece usually, that you don't have, okay? So right here, I don't have any of this stuff memorized, but I know it all. For the same reason that there are tens of thousands of chords that I have never played, that if you asked me to play them, I would be able to play them. How is that, Eric? It's for the same reason that I've never counted to 1,000,000, but I know how to count to 1,000,000. In fact, I know how to count to 1,000,000,000. Never done it. You haven't done it. I know you haven't. You don't have the time to do that. But I know that you can do it because we know that if we count 1 to 10, then the decimal moves over, and then we go 1 to 10 again, except it's with the 10 there. Now we got 11 through 20 and so on and so forth. We do this to whatever number we want to do. So these are tools. It's a system, okay? And music is no different. If you understand the system, it's absolutely completely clear and it makes common sense. Those of you who are in the Unstoppable Guitar System, you know what I'm talking about. Shout amen right now. Let other folks know I ain't playing around here. This is not a joke. This is super simple stuff if you understand how to do it. So you find the tonal center. Let's say we find the tonal center is a C, and we know that, and what that tells us is this, or if we have this information, that 80% I'm talking about, then all of a sudden it all opens up. The code breaks open and we can see the matrix as it has always been. We just didn't have the information before. So in the key of C, these are the notes that naturally appear. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. But Eric, what happens if we change that? Well, then you change it, but then it's not what naturally appears. What I mean by naturally is what appears from the major scale, which is the construct, if you will, of 99.999% of all music that you hear. It's what naturally is resonant to the ear, okay? So you've heard this before, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Well, those notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C. And if we played the chords in a chordal scale, so instead of notes, we're playing the chords, then you have C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B half diminished, or just B diminished, and back to C again. And so those are those chords right there. And we could do this with any tonal center. Doesn't matter. This is where people get mixed up as they go, well, how do you know about the sharp and the minor and the, I can't do this. You don't have to do this. The only thing you need to do is you need to know the major scale, which takes like 5 minutes to commit to memory, and then know that the 1 and the 4 and the 5 are major. The 2, 3, and 6 are minor. 7 chord you're never going to use, chances are. The 7th chord, the diminished chord, you're probably not ever going to use that, so don't even worry about it. So that, my friend, is how this information is truly going to help you understand how that information will tell you what the rest of the chords and notes should be. Cool? Does that make sense? All right. Good. Great question, Steve. Super good question. All right. Oh, thank you so much for the kind shout out, Larry, about the Unstoppable Guitar System. Loretta, thank you. Thank you, Sean. A lot of folks shouting out there. So be looking for that, friends. I'm telling you, UGS is the best. Kevin, thank you so much, buddy. Okay, a lot of beautiful messages there. Okay, so I'm bumping over to YouTube here really quickly, and I'm going to start looking for some questions here. Okay, so Eric, could you please explain, could you please show us how to build a diminished chord? I will, Juan. So think about this. Simplify, right? A diminished chord is a minor chord with a flatted 5. That's all it is, okay? And the way we're talking about it here, a diminished chord is a minor chord with a flat 5. Eric, what do you mean by a flat 5? The only thing I'm saying is that if you can know the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember I said how easy it is? That's how many times I took algebra in college. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I can get it, you can get it. Then we just count through the scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we flatten that 5. And that's the note that we put into the chord to make it diminished. So if we have a C minor chord, here's our C minor chord, then the only thing I do is I use the same scale as the tonic of the chord, or the root of the chord, then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the 5 of my chord. This guy right here. So I'm going to lower this a half step because I said it has to be a flat 5. So now, so that's a diminished chord. And so basically, if you want to construct, this is what I mean by once you know that little piece of knowledge, you will forever be able to construct diminished chords all over the neck. So any minor chord that you've ever played in your life, or if you know the bar chords up and down the fretboard, well, literally, you just doubled your chord vocabulary by knowing how to subtly change the minor chord and make it diminished. This is how one can know tens of thousands of chords that they've never played before, or scales or anything else. It's the same way that we know that we can count 1 to a billion, but have never done it before. I know you're confident in that, okay? All right. All right, what about the flat 5? Eric Larson is saying on YouTube, what about it, Eric? Let me, you can expound on that question, unless you're talking to someone else. Let me know. Is the second diminished in the minor scale? Let's talk about it. Now, here's the deal. I don't like to think about things in the minor key, because why? Why is that? Well, look, here's why. For those of you that are dead set on thinking about things in a minor key, let me explain this. I, too, used to do that. And it's not wrong, but it's double the work. So if you like double the work, then keep thinking about it in the minor key. Otherwise, do what I'm about to show you here. And the reason why I reluctantly came to this in the beginning, and now I'm just like, no, it makes all the sense in the world, is all these amazing Nashville cats that play way better than I do, that know a lot more. They don't know more necessarily about music, but they play way better than I do. Then what they do is they commit to this way of understanding the number system. They make the major 1, the tonal center all the time, even if a song's in the minor key. So for instance, remember I said, you've heard me talk about relative major and minor. For every major key, there's a related minor key. They share the same exact notes. They share the same exact chords, okay? But how you play those notes and chords depends on whether the tonal center is major 1 or a minor 6. Like two people on Facebook bickering about something regarding politics, okay? Bicker, I'm right, you're wrong, rah, 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 right? They're talking about the same stuff, but this person has a different opinion than this person. They call those my truths, but really they're just opinions. The truth is not made up by us. The truth is out there in the ether. We're trying to figure out what the truth is, but you got two people talking about major or minor, using the same notes, the same chords, but the way that they're playing those notes or chords, or the way that they're talking about these issues, is going to determine what their stance is, left or right, etc., right? So you think about relative major and minors that same way. So if we were in the key of C, this is the tonal center. If we were in the key of A minor, it's the 6, okay? It's the 6. Now the question was just said, in the minor key, is the 2 diminished? And it would be, okay? The way I like to think about it is the 7 is diminished, and it's always diminished, and that's the way we here in Nashville think about that. Why is that? Because if not, you're going to have to learn a whole new set of major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Watch this. If we're in the key of A minor, we're going to come down here, and we're going to say, oh, key of A minor. Okay, well now this is our tonal center. So now we have to think about a whole new set of chords. Minor 1, diminished 2. So the answer to your question is yes, the 2 is diminished in the minor key. 3 major, minor 4, minor 5, major 6, major 7. So now you have to learn a whole new set of chords, okay? Or you can just say, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say I'm in the key of C, but A minor is my tonal center. The relative, if you're always looking for if you're looking for the relative minor of something, you can always go to the 6. So if you're in the key of G, if you want to find the relative minor, it's E minor. If you want to find the relative minor of D, it's B minor, because it's the 6. If you want to find the relative minor of C, it's A minor, because it's the 6. All this row right here is the relative minor. In fact, I should redo this graphic and put a big old, I should bold this is what I should do. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, this way you don't have to learn all these new chords. You just 1, 4, 5 is major, 2, 3, 6 are minor, 7 is diminished. Okay, does that make sense? That's the easy way to do it. Otherwise, if you love to do things hard, make 6 your tonal center and then memorize all this. Okay, not that I have any of this memorized. It's just you don't have to memorize it. Let me tell you, you don't have to memorize this stuff. You just have to understand the construct of it. And then literally you get faster and faster at this, that when somebody asks you to do something, you can literally work out the math very quickly. If you can count 1 to 7, I should say that. Let me preempt that. Whoa, Eric. Not everybody can count to 7 out there. So for those of you that can't, then you might want to stop playing guitar, okay, because music theory is not for you. But if you are one of those very few who can count to 7, then you're going to be totally fine with music theory. You're going to get this. Otherwise, I'm sorry for the others out there. I can't help you. Okay, so here you go. So that was a great question, by the way. Fantastic question. And that was on YouTube. So let's get back to that, YouTube. Beautiful, Jerry. What Jerry's saying here is true. I know it was the church, and it probably was the Catholic Church. You can thank the Catholic Church for all songs ending on a major chord. The minor key was once considered demonic. So any church music written in a minor key had to resolve to the major. And that's often known as the Picardy third. So is that right? The Picardy third? Yeah, it's when you have a song in a minor key and you end up well, if you ever hear something like that, it was a terrible example, but nonetheless, is whenever you hear a song in a minor key and then you hear it lift up at the end in that major key, what Jerry is saying is correct. I remember studying that in school that there were certain chords, in fact. Dear God, if you played a 9th chord or an 11th chord, the demons would come out. And that's the way that we believed back then. People still believe things similar to that. I grew up playing Christian rock when I was a kid, and I got all sorts of flack from both sides. So anyhow, all that to say, it's not demonic. It's just a cool sound. In fact, everything I write's in a minor key, pretty much. I love that sound. All right. Good. Oh, thank you so much for all those testimonials, friends. That is super kind. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, and we built that diminished chord, right? Joe Pass, who's an amazing guitar player, you're saying he did a whole album in recovery. What do you mean by that, in recovery? Roy Clark just died. What? I was just talking to one of my friends the other day that Roy Clark is an amazing guitar player, old school guitar player, and just an absolute beast on guitar. That guy was phenomenal. Look him up sometime. What are your pros and cons of top rapping as you have done on your Les Paul? Let's talk about that really quickly, because so what a top rap is when you take the stop piece here, right, where you string your strings through, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can actually have it where the string comes in on this side, comes out the bottom, it then comes up over the top. Okay, you've got that. But the other way to do it is to top wrap it, which means you put the string in backwards, it comes over the top of this, and then you have it come over the bridge and the saddles, okay? And so some people swear by this, and they say that the tone is better, that you get better sustain and that sort of thing. I do it because a lot of the guys that I love do it, and I trust them. To be honest with you, I don't hear a difference. A lot of people say, oh, I hear a massive difference on all sorts of things that I really, truly don't believe people are really hearing a difference on. But it's cool to act like you can hear it. And maybe there are those that can hear it. Maybe I can't. But nonetheless, I do it because a lot of my idols do it, and it just looks cool. But it's supposed to give some better sustain and that sort of thing. There are certain things like that people will pontificate in forums for years on, when really what they should be doing is just practicing, because all of the all the pontificating will not make them a better player at the end, and it's kind of silly that people do that. Can't believe Roy Clark died, but eventually, right? What a great player, though. Okay, how does one transcribe songs? Wolf. So one transcribes songs by taking what they hear and writing it down. But you can't write that stuff down if you don't know what it is. Hence, all of this music theory I'm talking about. Knowing the notes on the fretboard, which is super easy. It's in the free course. Basics of ear training, basics of like what's the major scale, what does it mean to us, all that stuff. Once you have that, then you write that stuff down. Okay, so well, that's a C note, so you write it down. That's literally all transcription is. And everybody's slow at first. Do you know why? Because they've never done it. So just like a child who, first time he's walking, he's not going to be good at it. There you go, right? Could you approve me in the Facebook UGS private group? Anybody who is asking, Kelly, no, it's not done like that. And I'm not being ugly, but we have thousands of people. In fact, way over 100,000 people that are in our courses. In fact, at this point, probably closer to 500,000 people. So we get messages every now and then. And so we give real strict directions. So I'm not talking to just you, Kelly. I'm talking to everybody. Anybody who wants to be in the Unstoppable Guitar System Facebook group, we don't accept Facebook requests because there's a ton of people that are asking to get into the group that aren't in Unstoppable Guitar System. So you can see our dilemma. So what you need to do, Kelly, is read on the welcome screen. It gives you the directions there. It takes you 2 seconds to do. So do that, Kelly, and we will get you in there. Otherwise, that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, we're going to be letting everybody into the Unstoppable Guitar System group, which is not right for those folks that paid, right? And augmented is a raised 5. It is TBA1. It is a raised 5, sharped 5. So if we're playing the scale, G major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 5. Then the augmented 5 is a raised 5. That's it. Okay. Eric, do you plan to create a theory course of videos? Eric, I've got a bazillion theory videos inside of the Unstoppable Guitar System. Ton of them. Kevin, can you please discuss the difference between major scale and the first position Ionian scale? So here's the deal. I'll say it again. I might sound like a broken record, but obviously not enough. Don't worry about the modes. Unless you are some big fan, a massive fan of jazz, and you just can't get those jazz sounds, don't be concerned with the modes. They're not for you. In blues, in rock, just don't be concerned with them. They're way more of a distraction. I wish that modes were like in a cave somewhere and you really had to go find them if you had to pass some questions like I love jazz and I've done this and that and the other thing. Otherwise, people think that modes are going to bring about some sort of like mystical thing in their music, and bottom line, it just doesn't. So the Ionian scale, so here's what I mean by this. The Ionian scale, dear God, that sounds complex, doesn't it? It's the major scale. So anytime you're playing the major scale, you're playing the Ionian scale, or the Ionian mode, okay? It's the same thing, Kevin. If you're playing it in one position, you're playing the Ionian scale in that same position. Same thing with the minor scale. The minor scale is a derivative of the major scale, as are all the modes. And when you play the minor scale, you're also playing the Aeolian mode. So there's no different. It's synonymous. It's like call me by my first name or last name. I'll answer by both. Mike is saying, I have one guitar, a 14 Squire Tele Custom that I can play good bar chords on. It has medium jumbo frets and tens. Why do you think that guitar is easier to play the bar chords on? Jumbo frets and tens. I mean, there's a myriad of different reasons why that could be, Mike. It could be that the action is set lower. It could be, I mean, jumbo frets are usually, they're easier to play because they stick higher up out of the neck, right? And they just make for a lighter playing. So it could be a myriad of different things. It could be the neck, as BC Rich here said. Yeah, it could be the neck. All sorts of stuff. The action, yep. Tons of stuff. Okay, so goodbye. I'm on a call. I'm on a live broadcast here, my friends. I'm getting phone calls. All right, so all right. The circle of fifths, the number system. Yeah, I got to know the number system. It's so important. Okay, so someone's saying here, a question. Micah is saying, Michael Himmelman on YouTube is saying, I'm playing along a backtrack. There is a second voice that adds harmony and not just what other instruments are playing. One octave higher is an easy addition. Any easy hacks you could mention? Okay, I think I know what you're trying to say, Micah. You're basically saying, how do I harmonize? This is how you harmonize. You got to know what key you're in. Here, look, here's that theory again. We really need this stuff. It's important. You know what key you're in. And what you do is you take whatever note you want to harmonize with, you skip a note in the scale, and then you play that third note. So let's say if your buddy's playing a 1, you skip over 2, you play the third note. When your buddy plays the 3 note, you're going to skip over 4 and play the 5 note. It's literally that easy. The scale step note. So for instance, if I am playing this, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The harmony for that would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And together it would sound like. Does that make sense? Okay, so literally you skip a note. So that would be harmonizing in thirds. If you want to harmonize in fifths, you skip another note and play the 5. If you want to skip another note, you play the 7, and then the 9, and then the 11, and then the 13th. Wow, Eric, that sounds like jazz chords. It is. That's the harmony. That's the harmony we're all talking about. So we skip notes. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. That's how harmony works in a nutshell. Eric, what's the first thing to be a great guitarist like that Eric Andreas guy? Could it be practice, Eric? Yes, it definitely is, Jeff, and I really appreciate that. You know, we're all on a continuum. When I hear myself improvise, I mean, sometimes I'll play something really cool, and then other times because I'm teaching more than I am playing, I say, gosh, I really wish I were a better player. But alas, my passion is, at this point in my life, so much as helping others get to this place. Because I see their passion, and usually that passion is so much more ignited when you first discover this stuff, as it usually is. So, but everything is practice. Everything. Hold on. We got another one of these where we messed up here. So hold on. As far as Roy Clark, hold on. He died in 2017 is what I heard, or heard anyway. Oh, I did this about B.B. King the other day. Jeez. Okay, right now I'm in the beginning section of the website. Is this live stream for beginners, intermediate, or general chord knowledge? Daniel, all my videos are for everybody at all times. It's really hard to say. I mean, what one person calls a beginner is an intermediate for another, and vice versa. That's all subjective, so one can't really say. But it's just for beginners. There's no need that, no reason that beginners can't get this stuff, okay? Okay. All right, all right, all right, all right. Good, good, good. We had to turn down Petra when we got to church parking lot. We graduated to striper. Brian, I'm with you, man. Yeah, I got many stories about all that stuff. All that stuff. So fun. Okay. All right. Eric, when you're playing all over the neck, are you chasing the key note to know where to go? Playing the relative minor or just improvising? John, great question. So a little bit of all. So let's take this one at a time. When you're playing all over the neck, which really is this. Think about this for a moment. Here's folklore and myth again. When someone sees another player playing all over the neck, they assume, because I've never met another guitar player that didn't assume this, they assume that they're cognizant of everything happening all at once. Well, that's like being out in the field looking at a map and you're like, man, I'm right here and I want to get to there. Are you concerned with a map of China, or are you concerned with the part of the map that's 100 miles out? Probably not, unless you're driving 100 miles that day. You're going to just be looking at the area that you need to travel, right? So in the same way, if someone's playing all across the neck, they're linking smaller pieces together, and they don't worry about that portion of the neck until they're there. So for instance, if I'm playing in the key of A minor, and I slide up to the second position, if I'm doing something like that, well, I don't worry about the second position until I'm in the second position, and then I just am concerned with that area of the neck. So that's one part. Now, chasing the key note, that can happen all over the neck, or that can happen in one position. So for instance, with the Thrill Is Gone, we got A minor, right? D minor, then A minor. And then we have F, E, so if I'm playing A minor, then what I'll do is I'll play a lot of stuff from the A minor chord. And it goes to the D minor. That's the D minor chord. And then I resolve it to the A minor chord. So it's a great way to do this is to literally just play the chords while you're listening to a chord progression where you know the chords. And just play the chord progression. And then start trying to sneak in a couple little notes instead of the actual chord. Like actually sneak in the note instead of just play the whole chord. And then you're going to get better and better at this, and the chord will start appearing in your mind's eye here on the fretboard, and then you will be able to chase the chord and be able to constantly have those sweet notes coming out all the time, okay? And now, playing the relative minor, that really doesn't have anything to do with anything in regards to improvisation, because, again, if I'm playing in a major key, then I'm just playing in a major key. If I'm playing in a minor key, I'm playing in a minor key. Relative major and minor is typically, when we're relating the two, we need the other one there. So, and in regards to soloing, it really doesn't matter because it's the same notes every time. Does that make sense? And then improvisation, yeah, I'm definitely improvising. I'm just kind of coming up with stuff. Okay? But not without knowing some theory, okay? Again, playing by ear. Am I playing by ear? Yes, I am. But if I didn't have the music theory behind it, I'm not playing by ear. It's not like I'm going to be able to just go randomly pick any note and my ear is going to automatically know that fret is going to sound right. In fact, I don't know of a guitar player on this earth that's the way they think. even the bests, even the very, very bests. It's just not the way we think. We think in patterns, and we know what works. Now, the voice is different, right? If I play this, I can go, ah, yeah. And I can hit notes that are within the scale because we're so used to exercising our voice. But an instrument is less like that, okay? We don't have the same control. We're not using it all day long, okay? But if you did, you probably would get a lot better at it just like you would your voice. Great questions. Larry, how old is this guitar? It's not that old, but it is it's an R8, so which is basically a reissue of a 1958. And there goes my volume knob. And yeah, it's a replica basically, and I don't know what year it is. I think it might be a 2001. Okay, great. Okay. Can you make a video of the overwrap, or did you already? Juan, I'm not sure if I did or not. I feel like I did already, but that one's probably only in the Unstoppable Guitar System. You could search that though. You could just search YourGuitarSage Les Paul overwrap or something like that on YouTube. I've made so many videos now, sometimes I don't remember, you know. Won't top wrapping damage the finish of your tailpiece? E-guitar, I've never heard of them having a finish, you know what I mean? They don't have a finish. It's just metal. It's just a piece of metal. So there's no finish on it. It just is, you know? And if there were a finish, which there's not, it would just be in that one area where the string is at, so it shouldn't be a problem anyhow. But yeah. Oh, you're so welcome, Kelly. Eric, is your action set very low? Also, that's a subjective question, of course, but it's set pretty low, but it's not like terribly low. It's where it should be, and this is where the folks get stuck, is they're always looking for a best, or they're looking for the lowest and this sort of thing, but really it's what's best for you. Bluegrass players like to have their strings high because they really hit the guitar hard, and they get more volume from it that way. If their action was lower, then it would be a big mess. So it just depends on how you're playing. If you're playing very fast and a lot of legato type stuff, not a lot of picking, very, very quick lead type stuff, then you probably want your action lower, if that makes sense. What is the first step in using theory to help play by ear? James, it's a great question. Here's what to do. Watch the free series that I have available for you today, YourGuitarSage.com/30. I'll go into more detail about that, but this is why. You need some basic understanding of the basic structure of music, which is the major scale. If you can't play the major scale in any key very quickly, this will literally take you, if you follow the way that I prescribe it, it will take you all of about 10 minutes to have the ability to play any major scale in any key and know the notes. At least know the notes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is really all we need. So watch that free series, James. It's in the top of the PDF that I'm providing for you today. Okay, so number one, know the major scale, then play it in a few different keys so that you can see that it's really all the same scale, at least in regards to the distance between the notes, okay? Sharps and flats are fairly irrelevant unless we're trying to communicate and say, hey, what key are you in, that sort of thing. Otherwise, you literally could not know the key to anything, but if you knew what the tonal center is, if you're like, well, this is the tonal center. I don't know what that is, but that's the tonal center. If you knew the scale and you knew the chords behind it, which I give you here today, then it's really like 95% of what you need to know, because everything else is based upon that. If you don't know those things, then it's going to be tough. So that's how you want to think, James. Those are like the first 2 steps or so. Okay, David Henderson, a little off topic, but I was searching for UGS for a video of PDF showing the scale across the neck. Could you please point me in the right direction? Okay, David, anytime you're in the Unstoppable Guitar System, in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a search, little magnifying glass. Click on that, and then it'll open up, and you could search, major scale. You'll find those, they have different forms of those. Same thing with the blues scale, same thing with the pentatonic. So whatever specific one you're looking for, blues, pentatonic, or diatonic, major, you'll find it that way by searching those terms. All right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Good questions today. All right, what kind of setting would sound good on effects for sure music? What kind of setting would sound good on effects for sure music? Karen, I don't know what that means. If you can shore up that question, I don't know what you mean by sure music, and I don't know what setting on what good effects. You'd have to know what specific effects. There's hundreds of effects, so you've got to let me know what kind of genre of music you're talking about, that sort of thing. That would help. Can't think of any questions all answered in the Unstoppable Guitar System. Yay! Thank you, Mary Beth. Surf music settings on effects. Oh, okay. What would be good settings for that clean sound? Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Very quickly here, I'm going to grab another guitar because you got to have the right tools for the right job, right? And so, sorry to pull myself off camera there. Sorry to the ladies, that is. I'm joking. I'm feeling punchy this morning. Okay, so what we have is we've got, first off, a nice single coil sound is going to get you that great surf sound, okay? Okay. Then we want to have a nice clean tone. Now, probably even cleaner than that. Probably something like that. We're going to turn up the reverb. That's a little dark. Here we go. Still a little dark to me. Okay, so anyhow, with all that being said, really just some reverb. And the reverb that you want to use is what was only available back in the day with surf music was a spring reverb. That's going to sound the best. That being said, if you have some other sort of reverb, it's going to sound pretty darn close. So, but what's important to say about reverbs, number one, you need some reverb to get that sound. And number two, it needs to be loud enough that you can hear it to where it sounds like it's swimming, right? It's like it's in water. It's reverberating, right? Now you can hear the difference in the way that I just picked just now. Check this out. So much can be done literally by where you pick. Do you hear the difference there? This is much brighter. So if you've got that reverb happening and you've got a single coil type guitar, humbuckers don't sound so good with this style of music. I like to use either the bridge or the Midland bridge, neck and or the neck and middle. Those are the two pickups that I like to use the best when it comes to surf guitar. And then throw in some of that reverb, make it long enough and big enough to where you can hear it and it makes sense, right? Okay, cool. Thanks, Karen, for clearing that up. There we go. Lots and lots of spring reverb is what BC Rich is saying, and really clean tones. Exactly. Yep, you want spring reverb. You want it clean. You don't want any distortion. You just want it really, really super clean, okay? Spring reverb is a reverb that basically they took the sound and they somehow run it through an actual spring, and the spring would sit there and shake, and they would sum the, if I'm saying this right, they would sum the dry signal, which is that without the reverb, and then the reverb, they'd put them together, they'd sum them together, and then you get that sound with the reverb. Cool? All right. How to sweep pick dissonance. I have videos on that, so I could tell you right now, but it wouldn't be nearly as in-depth as what I show you in the videos on YouTube. So dissonance plays. On YouTube, search YourGuitarSage Sweep, S-W-E-E-P, okay? Okay, does this apply to slide guitar as well? Yeah, Joseph, all theory, I mean, doesn't matter doesn't matter whether you're sliding to a note with a slide or your finger, or bending up to it, or just playing it. It's all the same. Music theory is all the same. My LP is very old and looks gold, so I'm hesitant to top wrap. Yeah. It's not going to make or break anything. You know what I'm saying? What I mean is whether you do it or not, you're probably not going to notice a ton of difference anyhow, you know. Soup of the day. Take a screwdriver and widen the post on your volume pot on that, and that knob won't fall off. Soup of the day. Yes, thank you so much for letting me know that. And for folks that don't know what Soup is saying, basically when you take the cap off of a pot, this is called a pot or a potentiometer, and it's the volume or tone knob. When you pull that off, if they fall off like mine does all the time on my Les Paul, really you just need to take a screwdriver. The potentiometer without the cap on it is like a piece of steel, but it's got a little slit in it, and so if you take a screwdriver and you kind of bend it, just barely, slightly widen it, then when you put the cap on, it'll stick on there better. Yeah. Soup of the day, thank you so much for the reminder there. That's what I need to do. What is the best way to dial in effects for specific songs? Example, U2, With or Without You, Pink Floyd, Run Like Hell, etc. James, the best way to do that is to watch a good tutorial by someone who knows what they're talking about. Eventually, you start knowing what effects are happening. So for With or Without You, for Run Like Hell, you're talking about lots of overdrive. Not lots of overdrive, lots of delay, right? And some reverb and a little bit of overdrive, just enough to give it that, you know what I'm talking about, that sound on your guitar. So yeah. Eric, just curious, what do you like the least about your online teaching journey, and what do you like the best? Thanks again for your contributions to our Guitar God journeys. Okay, so kind, sub. So what do I like the least about your online teaching journey, and what do you like the best? Man, honestly, I can't think of too much that I dislike about it. I guess probably one of the things that I dislike, but it's one of the things that I dislike is not having that one-on-one interaction with a student, which is very, you can look in their eyes, you can see what they're doing and determine whether they're getting it or not, if you have to simplify it or make it or move along quicker. So that I do miss, but now it's been so many years since I stopped doing one-on-one lessons. I mean, I was up to like 70 a week, and I was just like getting so overwhelmed with doing the online stuff and a family and everything else that I just was like, I just cannot teach one-on-one anymore. I mean, just even the thought of me saying that back in the day, I remember going, but this is what you do. You teach one-on-one. And I remember when I made that decision to do that, it took a moment, took a little while to sink in, and I think it took me like 2 years, maybe 3 years to get rid of my last student, because they wanted to stick around and I wanted to help them. But nonetheless, I finally and raised my prices so much and got rid of my students, the ones that weren't practicing like they should. But nonetheless, it's still one-on-one, and you have that interaction, which I don't really have that except in these situations, which I love. So this totally compensates for that, and I can reach so many more people. So that's what I love so much about it. I love that I could love that I can reach so many people. So here, you know, we're meeting for an hour or two maybe, and I'm reaching a few hundred people, and then by the end of the day, maybe a few thousand will have watched this video. So that's cool. I love that. But it's the one-on-one interaction, of course, that you kind of lose. But I feel like we're doing the best of both worlds, because when you're inside the Unstoppable Guitar System, I mean, literally now, with all the new vets that we have in there, we're probably getting at least 100 messages a day. And even though that can be overwhelming sometimes, you see everybody's progress, and you're really getting to know people's names and interacting with them. They ask a question, you're able to answer it right away. So it's as if I'm sitting right there, but I'm here in Nashville. So that's what's cool about it. And there's really not much that I dislike about it. I used to dislike that I would be reaching so many people every day, but I never met anybody. And before we were doing live stuff and what have you, I literally was just looking into a camera and talking and pouring my heart out, and knowing, because I could see the YouTube numbers, that tens of thousands of people were watching every day, but it was just a number. I didn't have this interaction like I do now. So we've resolved that part, and that's really cool, you know. How is the pedal and guitar coming along? So I talked with John Scott yesterday about the guitar, at least we did by text, and we need to talk today. He's going way slower than I want. So the pedal, though, is moving along very quickly, and that is going to be fantastic. I absolutely am so excited about that. I don't know if we'll have that by the end of the year, but it'll be very close to the beginning of the year if not. Can you explain the difference between reverb and chorus? Yeah, very easy. The reverb sounds like this. You know, we got... You hear how that just fades out? That's reverb. Chorus is... do I have chorus? Yeah, I do. Hold on here. Let's see. This is chorus. Let's see if I can get it. See how it sounds kind of swimmy? Now if I do this, it's not like there's anything continuing on. Reverb takes the signal, and it's as if you're in a giant hall or a bathroom, and it's as if the noise is bouncing around on all the walls. You don't hear the actual, each individual reflection, like echo, 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 echo. You hear echo. You hear it fade out like that, like you're turning the volume down. But a chorus it's as if you're hearing two sounds at the same time, and one of them is just slightly behind the other or in front of the other. And so what you would get is you would get this sound of like, it's kind of swimmy sounding, you know? We add the reverb to it. And we got that sound. Delay, we got that sound. Make sense? Okay, cool. Randy's saying on YouTube, when practicing ear training, how can I learn to hear the bass note with all the other sounds going on? Randy, so there are some tricks that you could do, like, for instance, if you have, back in my day, we could actually adjust the treble and the bass on whatever it is we were listening to. Now you just get what you get because it sounds great. So there's no need to adjust anything. But like on your car stereo, if you turn down the treble, right, and you turn up the bass, then that will boost that bass sound and you will hear it more clearly. So that's a little trick you can do. Otherwise, you really just want to listen to the lowest note, which typically the lowest note is the easiest one to hear. But that's a trick that you can use, Randy, to get the bright sounds to be quieter, is by attenuating them down with the treble knob, turning that back, cranking up the bass knob. It'll literally, that's a miniature EQ, if you will, and you're boosting the bass sound, okay? Okay, great. Explain the difference between dry versus wet mix. So this, Bob, is a wet mix. It's got the reverb, it's got delay, it's got chorus. But if we turn all that off, we get dry. That's the difference, right? Dry, wet. Because it sounds like it's wet, right? Okay, cool. Is it okay to use fingers 2 and 3 for an A major chord? Yes, it's totally fine, Larry. If it works for you, do it. There's so many amazing guitar players that have broken so many rules that when people emphasize that sort of thing, that's like saying Da Vinci, if Da Vinci held his paintbrush wrong, would we pontificate over that nowadays, you know? Didn't he paint with his teeth? No, sorry. No, that was somebody else. But nonetheless, no, if it works, it works. You know, at the end, we just want to hear good music. So whatever that looks like, do that. Eric, how old were you when you started playing guitar? How long did you play before you started teaching? I'm interested in starting teaching, possibly. Get to teaching right away, friends. Teach somebody, help somebody, because here's why. When you do that, you learn stuff so much better, because in order for you to teach it, it has to make sense to you. One cannot explain something effectively if they don't understand it themselves. So what it does is it challenges you to understand it yourself in the best way possible, especially if you're trying to simplify it for somebody who's having a harder time than maybe that you had understanding it. Okay, so definitely get to teaching someone right away. If you know anything more than somebody else, and they need your help, then do that. Then help, and it's a great way to spread the love and to further drive those principles home to you. So started playing at 14, and by, let's see, probably about, I would teach buddies of mine, like in high school. I had some buddies that started playing before me, but when I took the guitar, I played a lot more than them. So I ended up learning stuff and then ended up teaching them stuff. But it was more like songs, or sometimes it was theory. I'd be like, oh, check this out. I just learned this thing or whatever. And I would teach them just as buddies. And then somewhere around college time, I started actually having folks come over to the house, and I would teach them how to, about music theory and that sort of thing. Then once I moved to Nashville, then that happened even more so. But right away, within 4 years or so, I was teaching. But there's nothing to say you can't teach a month into playing. It's just you won't have a ton to share yet, okay? But do it right away. Line 6, Variax or Strat. I'm looking to get a guitar with a tremolo. Hard to say. I love the Variax and I love a Strat. The Variax is, you have lots of different guitars in it. Right? They're modeling guitars, and so that's really cool. I'd say get a Variax because you just have all these different sounds to work with immediately, Differences between delay and reverb. So here is reverb. Here's delay. Usually with delay, you will hear each generation or each, what's called feedback. If you crank the feedback up, you get this sound. keeps going, right? So that's called the feedback. That's how many generations you hear of whatever it is that you're playing. Okay. How much should your students practice that you mentioned those that didn't? How much should your students practice that you mentioned those that didn't? Walt is saying. Well, just enough to get the lesson done for that week, that much. So if I'm teaching them, okay, make sure you know the major scale by next week, and then they come in and they don't know the major scale, I know they didn't practice. So that's how much. Just enough to move forward, If you can't do what it is that's before you today, then you can't take what's before you today and add on top of it, unless you're some sort of magician and you can, change the time-space continuum. Otherwise, you have to do what's before you, earn that badge, and then add, earn the next badge. But that's how it works, right? If you can't lift 100 pounds at the gym, then you shouldn't try 110. You should try something less than 100, see what you can get, and then move forward. I know that sounds really elementary, but there's a lot of folks that don't understand that basic concept. I know this because I get these questions all day long. Totally fine. It's a totally fine question, Walt. I'm not picking on you at all. I'm just saying, some folks don't understand how much they should be practicing. And my answer is always this: if you're fine with being a completely mediocre player, then just play a medium amount. If you love sucking, then don't practice much. But if you want to be really good at what you do, then you better be putting in the hours. You can't be good and not put in the hours. There is no such thing. There never has, there never will be. And I know for some of you that is probably new information. As crazy as that sounds, I know that's new information. There's no guitar player who ever just didn't practice and was just amazing. Yeah, but what about Jimi Hendrix? I don't care what name you mention there. I can tell you that they all practice insanely. They can practice for hours and sometimes all day long. Okay, so there is no great anything where they didn't practice a lot. I don't care if it's an accountant, a soccer player, or a guitar player. Practice equals better. Bottom line, you want to be better, you have to practice. If you're not going to practice, you're not going to get better. That's the simplest math there is. Yeah. And consistency, as Ashwin said here. Yeah, it's really important. Oh, look, in music class last night, we constructed a B-flat scale using whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. What you start on and end on. Pow, light bulb. Yes, love that, Della. And you, Della, knew what you were talking about there because we've been talking, and I love that. That means you schooled everybody, right? Good. Any thoughts on all-in-one amp cab modeling effects? Amp cab pedal modeling effects. I just picked up a Firehawk FX at a discounted price, and it's pretty amazing. It's if not a little overwhelming with options. If you have the Firehawk FX, that's all you need. You don't need anything else. I mean, it's just variations. I mean, I've got the Kemper Profiler, and it has a bazillion things, more than I'll ever use. What's the biggest venue or audience size I've ever performed? The biggest place that I've ever performed, it's not a lot of people, maybe about 5,000 people. It was playing for an artist by the name, let me see if that's right, if I've played anything bigger. No, about $5,000, like festival type stuff. That's the biggest I've ever played. But it was very thrilling. I played with an artist by the name of Tony Vincent. He is now a big Broadway guy, so he did We Will Rock You and Jesus Christ Superstar and Rent, and he was always the lead in all of those. He kind of went that route of music theater, and but I played on his first album and did some touring with him, and that's about the biggest gig I've ever done. Eric, any tips on improving chord progressions? I still find it confusing. Ashwin, you're going to have to be more descriptive about that. What do you mean improving on chord progression? Like, specifically, what do you mean? If you can let me know that, I can help. No, Kemper doesn't usually go on sale. It's like Rolls-Royce going on sale. They don't really do that so much. Any thoughts on the BC Rich Mockingbird? I've never played it, but it looks like a cool guitar. When winter's coming, should I be concerned with humidity and acoustic guitars? Indeed, you should get a, no, I forget what they're called, but they measure humidity. I'm sure you guys will put that there inside the chat. But that's what you want. You want to get something that measures humidity, and you want to keep it between about 50 and 60, 45 and 60, somewhere around there consistently. You want to do that. Very important, especially for acoustic guitars. Indeed. Eric's saying, after months of improving like crazy, I just bought the lifetime membership. $150. Crazy deal. Thanks so much, Eric. Put that question mark so you'd read it. Thanks, Eric. Yay, Eric's in the program. Friends, what Eric's talking about, this is the last day. We've kept this thing open for longer than I think we ever have. I think it was almost 2 weeks or longer. Yeah, less than 2 weeks. But today is the last day. If you are serious about getting into playing guitar, if you're looking for lifetime lessons, we're in a program that's constantly growing, 1,000-something videos now, 600 jam tracks, live broadcasts from me, including live broadcasts from me, 2 of them a month, that only the UGS members are a part of, not as many people that are here today, or the big broadcasts that we do. The 365 practice program, if you just wake up every morning, you're like, I don't know what to practice, I got you covered. Every single day is different, growing 52 weeks in 7 different areas. That's a 365. Friends, normally that program's $80. Unstoppable Guitar System, if you bought that separately, is $400. Literally both of them today for $159, I believe it is. It's 60% off. So this is the last day that we're doing it. So if you're serious, if you're not serious about it, it's totally okay. I've got like at least 1,000 something videos for you for free, and I'm here for you, okay? But for those that are really looking for the step-by-step and really delve into these areas and just like set it and forget it, and they're like, I don't have the time to jump around on YouTube and be distracted by all this stuff and misinformation and everything else, then your answer is to get in some sort of program. Maybe I'm the guy for you. If I'm the guy for you, then great. Get in the Unstoppable Guitar System. Today's the day. It's super cheap today. The way you can do that is you can click on the link that's in the description of the video. I think Instagram folks are gone already, but Facebook and YouTube folks, in the description of the video, you'll find that link. Also at the top of the PDF, you're going to find that link, okay? Okay. Abel is saying, how do that fingerstyle players make up that alien chords way up the fretboard, Abel? They're probably not alien chords. They're literally probably just the same chords that you're playing, but different versions of that. So I have an introduction to that on YouTube. It's called the Caged System. If you search search YourGuitarSage Cage, C-A-G-E-D, and you'll find that. Inside the Unstoppable Guitar System, I drill down on doing that with major chords, minor chords, 7th chords, minor 7th chords, etc., to really expand your knowledge. Massively will grow your brain in understanding how to pull these chords out and play them all over the neck, okay? Man, playing guitar is so good for the brain. It's so good for self-discipline. It's so good for understanding other bits and pieces about life. I swear to you, I constantly use my journey on guitar to guide me in life, because I say if I can apply these certain principles to the guitar, I know they're true for life. And those of you who follow my stuff inside UGS or on YouTube or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. It's like there's certain principles that show up all the time on the guitar, and philosophical principles that if you abide by them, you'll see the reward, and the same thing is true for life. So, okay, good. Can you mix 2 keys in one go? One, kinda, but not really. A hydrometer. Hydrometer. Thank you, Ison J69. It's called a hydrometer, and that's what measures the humidity. Okay, great, thank you. So Juan, mixing 2 keys at once would be like us talking about 2 subjects at the same time. It's absolutely no different. You would really confuse the ear. Now here's where I say kind of you can do this, okay? I've used this analogy before. Let's say we're talking about guitars. and I'm like, oh man, have you checked out this new guitar by, I just found these guys online, I forgot their name, but they're amazing. Here, I'll give you the name of it. Maybe I will. I might, if I can find them really quickly. Yeah, here you go. Ready? Follow these guys. Diminished Guitar. It's Daemones. Guitars. Diminished Guitars. These guys do amazing things with guitars. Anyhow, they have their angles on their guitars are very sharp and stuff. They're mainly like heavy metal type guitars, but the artwork on them is so beautiful, so I follow them for that. But for instance, we could be talking about guitars, and I could refer to these guys, and I could refer to the sharp angles that they have on the guitars, and I'm like, God, they look like sharks. Like, you ever see a shark where it has that fin and da-da-da? And we could tacit for a second. Is that the word? We could come over here for a second and talk about sharks and the shape of their fin, but as it relates to guitar. Now, if we're talking about guitars, and all of a sudden I start talking about sharks and what they eat, and I just start talking about sharks, and then I start talking about guitars again, and I'm not relating the two, well then see, that would be awkward, wouldn't it? So in the same way, Juan, we can mix keys, but it's more like a little quote or something, kind of like saying, hey, I see you, key, but really we're in this key. What I mean by that is this. So we could play a song like, doesn't matter what it is, but you know how I said, let me show you this. This is good information here, friends, so stick with me here. Watch this. If I were to come right here and I said, okay, we are in the key of C. We can borrow keys from the parallel minor key. Now, this is one time where we would want to use this downstairs mix up here, okay? Is we got the key of C, right? And what you can do is a lot of times you can borrow chords from the parallels, what we call parallels, when it's in the key of C but it's minor, or it's in the key of C and it's major. That's called parallel. Or the key of A major and A minor. Those would be parallel to each other. Okay, we have parallel, so being the same tonal center, but one's major, one's minor. And then we have relative, they're related because they have the same notes, the same chords. That would be C major, A minor, right? We talked about that earlier. That confuses you, pull up my videos on YouTube about that. YourGuitarSage, relative minor. Okay, so with all that being said, for instance, if I wanted to play this F chord, this 4 chord right here, normally it's major. But if I wanted to, I could grab this one chord and play it minor. So for instance, I'm playing in the key of C. Here we go. You ever heard that song? Sleepwalking. Oh, isn't that beautiful, that chord right there? Normally, our ear wants to hear C major, A minor, F major. See how that sounds safer? And you're totally fine with that, even though I just played a F minor chord. Now I'm playing F major. Okay, so that's what our ear wants to hear, but we can borrow a chord from another key, and that one chord will sound a little wonky. That makes you go. But now we're back home, right? You can feel that. Makes you question for a minute, like, what's going on there? Huh? And then we're back to our original key. So that's called borrowing chords. And those of you who have studied classical music know what this is about. We're borrowing chords typically from the parallel major or minor. So that can be done, but anything more than that, like 1 or 2 chords in a row, and you're going to start really distracting your listener to this new key. And then once you're in that new key, it's kind of like you're going to bring them back to the old key again. Now we're really confusing people. So in the same way, if we're having a conversation and I keep on being distracted, squirrel, that would be really squirrel. That'd be really annoying if I did that all the time, right? Okay, so don't do that. But you can borrow these bits and pieces, you know. Can you explain the John Mayer style? Yeah, practice your ass off and mimic people like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then practice singing a whole bunch. Be good looking, and that's his style. Seriously though, he plays a Strat, and he's very he knows his basics really well, really well, and he may even know, I'm sure he knows more than that. He went to Berkeley with a buddy of mine, so he's definitely a learned player. But that being said, he's just a good player. He practices a lot, and he plays very bluesy. So if you want to sound like Mayer, listen to Mayer, play like Mayer, play his stuff, learn his tunes, learn songs by him, note for note. Learn some Stevie Ray Vaughan, learn some Hendrix, but if you want to sound like Mayer, copy everything Mayer does. You still won't sound just like him, but you'll be getting his vocabulary. It's just like if you're hanging out with someone who has an accent, the chances are you're going to be getting that accent. Okay, when I moved to Nashville, people from Florida said, you sound like you're from Nashville now. Because I'm around people in Nashville, sometimes they have a little bit of twang in their voice, and I might say, y'all come back or whatever, and they'll be like, oh my God, you sound like you're from Nashville. It's because I'm hanging out with those people, right? So whoever you're hanging around with is who you will become. You ever heard that one? It's true. So if you need to clean house and get some new friends and family and everything, it's hard to get new family, but if you need to hang around some new people so that you can be a better person, it might be a good idea. Today's a great day to do that. Can you play your favorite blues lick or riff? Probably this basic... I love that basic, just that... It's one of my favorite. And it's used all the time. All right, yes. Yeah, low humidity can kill an acoustic guitar. Crack, it's terrible. Yep, seen it happen. Didn't believe it till I saw it, okay? Oh, look, thank you so much, Sub, for putting that in there. They're in the UK, huh? Yeah, they are amazing. I wish they were here. Wish they were closer. I'd get those guys to build a guitar for me. Whew, they're amazing. Best? Yes. Necessary? No. Okay. Man, you guys are active today. I like that. Remember, leave those question marks, friends. Okay. Ooh, yeah, I know, yeah. My finger, my thumb started cracking last night, and that happens a lot of times in the winter here, and I just cannot stand that, so I got to keep that stuff cranked, you know. It's not very fun. Oh, wow. You got to use whole house humidifiers, indeed. Oh, keeping it around 50%. I love that. That's cool, man. All right, I'm going to get to some questions really quick on Facebook, and then we're going to end it, my friends, because we got stuff to do. I got a new course to upload, all sorts of really fun stuff. So let me get to a couple questions here, okay? If you haven't already, friends, share this video right now. Also, if you haven't already, the 60% deal is going away today, I think at midnight. 60% off today. I think it's $159 for the Unstoppable Guitar System. We're also going to throw in $365. If you bought those separately, let's see. If you just came along and you bought $365, it's like $80, $79.95. If you brought UGS, that's $400. Now, normally we package that in with it, but today, instead of $400, it's literally $159, 60% off. It's going away today. It'll be back up to $400 tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Unstoppable Guitar System, Willow. But yes, that was close. All right, looking for some questions here on Facebook, and then we're going to be out of here. So yeah, if you're serious, friends, take advantage of it. Gene is saying, is the Unstoppable Guitar System the same as the Complete Guitar System? No, Complete Guitar System is on a totally different platform. It's called Udemy, and it is complete in that it teaches you, you know, from soup to nuts, whatever that expression means. It teaches you a lot of stuff. But the Unstoppable Guitar System is constantly growing. I'm constantly adding new stuff to it, and has way more content than the Complete Guitar System. Way, 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 way more. String recommendations for my acoustic. My fingers are killing me. It has nothing to do with the strings. Model brand, doesn't matter, Ronnie. It's not the strings. It's your fingers. You haven't worked out. That would be akin to going to the gym and working out for the first time and going, man, I need different weights. These are hurting my muscles. It's because your muscles aren't used to being pushed like that, Ronnie. So it's literally not the strings. It's your fingers. There's no string that will help. With the exception of maybe nylon strings if you're playing a nylon string guitar, but it's a totally different guitar. You don't want to change your strings up like that, okay? So you're playing with a backing track. Say a few words about playing a second voice. Okay, we did that one, right? Cool. Okay. Half the problem here with me not being able to get to these questions is the doggone chat that keeps jumping forward on me all the time. Okay. John, does your deal end midnight your time zone? I'm in the UK. It's probably around our time. I don't know, John, but the best thing to do would be to do it now and not wait till midnight of whenever, right? How would you define the ability difference between a beginner, an intermediate, and advanced player? Thanks and love your stuff. Ed, it's all subjective. It truly is all subjective. Ever play with a Fender Mustang GT? Thoughts? Seems well priced and loaded with useful features. I have not. Are all of your YouTube lessons videos cataloged on UGS? No, Willow. My UGS stuff is in UGS. My YouTube stuff's on YouTube. Do you have metal buttons on your jean jacket? I do. It's bad, isn't it, with a vintage guitar? I don't treat I treat my guitars well, but I don't treat them like they're royalty. I treat them like they're guitars. They're meant to be played, and if they get scratched, they get scratched. Even the vintage ones, I can't be bothered with worrying about their little feelings all the time. I got to play them. All right. All right, last few questions here. Okay, Bonnie's saying, I have nothing but the Ditto looper as far as pedals. Would you recommend the M6 line, it's an M6. I'm sorry, the M5, line 6 is the actual name of it. Or the Zoom multi-effects. No, the line 6. That's what I would suggest. Start there. And it's line 6 M5, not the other way around. Just so you're not searching the wrong thing and not finding it, right? Okay, so Ben, thought you were them. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I signed up on 11.3, requested access on 11.7. I know they're busy, and I hate to be a bother. Just seems like I'm missing a lot of fun. Ben, you are missing a lot of fun. So are others. It's literally, we run into this all the time. It's a time-space continuum problem. We are unable to go back in time or forward in time, so we have to, like, literally we're working with the same hours that you guys are, so we do a task and we can't do two tasks at the same time. So if we have 1,000 people sign up for the Unstoppable Guitar System, we have to do them one at a time. I'm messing with you, Ben. We're very, very, very busy here, and we're trying to fulfill all those requests, so please show gratitude and love and all that good stuff, and be patient. We'll get to it. We're working hard here. All right. I think that's it for today, my friends. If you haven't already, do I gig and record in Nashville? Yeah, I just recorded something on Monday, in fact. You guys will see some videos going up here shortly. It's for some bump music for some videos, for the YouTube videos that we're going to be doing. So you'll be seeing that. And then every now and then, I did a gig on the 28th of October last month there with my daughter, but I don't do it very often. I'm just so busy teaching and trying to help folks that I don't get to do it as often as I would like to. Eric, why do you love helping us so much when you don't have to? What made you care so much about us? Oh, that's really kind, Sean. You know, everybody's on a continuum, and you've got whatever your calling is or whatever it is that you find passion in. And for me, I've just found that in whether it's 100 years or 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000 years, everything on this earth will be gone, and every memory will be gone, and nothing will be remembered. And so the only thing that I can think of that really matters is right now and how many beings you can help, because it does matter to them. If you help a little animal out who's on the side of the road or needs help or whatever. I took a squirrel to the vet the other day because it had been hit by a car, and I think it survived because it was fine otherwise, but something was messed up with its legs. And it's like someone might say, well, what does that matter? Well, if you're that little squirrel on the side of the road, you'd probably think it mattered, right? So if we don't have that sort of attitude towards every being in life, then we've missed the point. And I don't know about you. I don't know if we come around several times. I think we're just around here one time. Maybe we're several times. I don't know. I'm open. But nonetheless, I don't want to screw it up. And helping others is about the only thing I can think of that really matters in the world. And it makes me feel good. So maybe some people will say, well, that's your ego. Okay, then that's my ego. For some people, it's just getting laid. And for other people, it's helping veterans and people out to play guitar and everything else. So if you consider those to be the same thing, then you might have a bigger problem. I just like helping people. It's fun. And that's all. And my guys help me all the time. And we're just one big happy family here. And there's so much love, and we like spreading it. And we're all on a continuum of doing this more and more and learning and honing our skills to better the world, right? And we all have these gifts. Every single one of us, everybody listening, has something amazing that the world needs that you're holding back on, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're giving it your all. I know I'm not giving it my all. I know I could be doing more. But we all have something amazing that we could be sharing with the world that would literally change the world. Instead of everybody bitching about stuff, we could take that same energy that we bitch with and we could put it into something that literally changes the world, and voila, at least for our little time here on Earth, that Earth is here, we could change it and make it cool, right? And maybe it does matter in the eternity somewhere. I hope it does. It'd be cool, but if it doesn't, then we just have right now, right? So let's just do that. So whatever it is that we believe, it's important that we do that, you know? What pets do I prefer, cats or dogs? I like both. All right, friends, I could keep going here. I love talking with you guys, and I love this time with you. It really means a lot to me. You've got great questions, and you guys are learning. You're moving forward. Please let me know how I can help. I've got new YouTube videos coming out all the time. Please do not forget that this deal of the century is going away today. So if you're seriously interested, get in there right now. The links are there for you in the description of the video and in the PDF. Otherwise, please let me know how I can help. Lots of free videos for you. If you have not taken advantage of the free course, friends, listen to me. 80% of learning to play by ear has to do with your knowledge. You could find notes all day long, and that's going to be a real tough way to be building every single chord, every single note that you hear in a solo, and to be finding it from scratch every single time, as opposed to going, okay, this is in A minor. Eric said that the A minor pentatonic is here, and this is here, and now all of a sudden, you're playing exactly where that original artist played because you have the theory knowledge. So understand that you need that theory knowledge, and I'm literally giving you like so much of it for free today inside the free program. If you haven't taken advantage of it, my friends, do it today. The link for it is in the top of the PDF. It's the free course, YourGuitarSage.com/30. All right, my friends, I love you so much. Thank you so much for all the questions and all. I'm out of here. We're gonna go make some more videos and some new stuff and what have you. Yeah, see ya.